Morning, everybody. It is the first day of spring. It is 33 degrees and I'm freezing.
Well, you know, spring. How's everybody doing today? Hope everybody's great. We're doing okay, even though we had to do this whole get-go again since somebody forgot to hit the record button. But anyway.
Oops.
We're going to try to... We did a little simple, basic solar setup before. Just kind of like a quick, easy setup. Today, I'm going to try to bring you along with setting up to where I can get the power that I'm wanting in the shop to run things and everything.
So with this new solar setup, the last one was quick, easy, cheap. Anyone can do it to get you lights quick. This solar setup is going to be able to allow us to power the shop, which is, we're so excited. I will leave links to different chapters down in the description below, so if there's something particular you're wanting to see, you can just click that timestamp and you'll skip right to it. For those of you watching on your TV, I will leave, you can just pause and I'll leave a list on the screen so you know where you can fast forward to see the spot you want. First thing we're going to do is just going to give a brief overview of all the things that he's using, and I will leave descriptions and links to where we got these items down below.
And definitely all the mess ups that you see me doing
Or improvements.
Or improvements that I need to do or a change in my setup, please definitely leave that all down below so that I can fix it.
I'm leaving this to Jeff. I'm just the gopher today. I will be bringing him stuff as he needs, but this is all him, and I will let him get started.
Okay. This is my little setup so far that I've got working. I think it's going to work out pretty decent. So, I've got this little board that I'm going to end up mounting up here because this is where I'm going to put it on the wall. But I wanted a nice, you know, this is an OSB stuff, so I wanted to put a nice, this is that little like underlayment cabinet type thin stuff. I just wanted to put up as a nice backing. Sorry about the shadows because we're kind of working off of a drop light right now. Hopefully that'll get all better. So we have the charge controller. We have a circuit breaker to go from here to the charge controller. We have a little 12-volt junction box to run off 12-volt stuff. We have our inverter to do up 2,000 watt continuous and a 4,000 watt peak, which should hopefully run, you know, because I won't be running all kinds of hooey. I think y'all know what I'm trying to say. Tools at one time.
Simultaneously.
So I think this will work out pretty decent. And then we've got a circuit breaker coming down up from the battery.
Bad shadow.
Yeah, everything's a bad shadow right now. Hopefully everything will get fixed once I get this all hooked up. And then I'm going to have trying to do some of these things also just a little bit more proper, a little bit more safe. I mean, you could probably bypass a lot of this, but it's not a good idea probably to do that, especially when you start investing in some money, because, you know, like the inverter is a little over a couple $100. You know, these little breakers, I mean, I got like 2 of them for like $11, I think. I think this thing was like $15 maybe. That little box, that's one of the cheaper models. I didn't pay probably about 20 bucks for that thing, but there are better ones I have seen, but they're like $50. This thing was like $10 or so.
But it all adds up.
But it all adds up, and you know, you don't want to have it all messed up. That's kind of how my layout's going to be, so let's get started trying to get this all mounted up and then trying to get it wired up. So everything we now have mounted. This is my solar coming from the panels I have up top, which is, I've only got 4 100-watt panels up top, 12 volt. And this is all, of course, just still a 12-volt system. We have the solar coming in. Our battery's going to come off to our circuit here, breaker, and then come back off, run to here, back to our other breaker, and then down to our battery. And then this will run up to power our little 12 volt. And then our negatives will get connected and go back down to the batteries as well. Now we got to start getting some wires done. And I think I found, and hopefully it's going to work out pretty good. I was looking at all the different kind of wires you can get and everything. And what I found out to be, seems to be the cheapest, is jumper cable wires. I do have these wires. This is a 2 gauge that I had with a Harbor Freight, like 5,000 watt inverter. That's really big for what I want to do. And the draw, and it wasn't the pure sine. Sine? Yeah. That was still a modified inverter. So this will be what I'm going to bring up from my batteries up. And then down here below, I picked up some 8 gauge. It's like 12 feet. So that's 24 feet of wire. It was like $10. And I was looking at all the kind of wires and stuff. It just seems like they're so expensive. I've got an old pair of jumper cables that the ends got run over or smashed, and they're all messed up. And this is a 4 gauge wire that I'm going to end up using on some of it. And then I picked up a 2 gauge 20-foot jumper cable. So that's like 40 feet of wire. It was a lot cheaper than what I was kind of seeing. Now, if you think that this isn't going to definitely put that down below, it's bad to use. But it seems like it's all the small, tiny, stranded wire that I need. It's got all the voltage and amp ratings I kind of need for it too. So I'm going to use the 2 gauge to connect the batteries that I got. And these batteries, they're a used battery. They're supposed to work pretty good. I got them for a place down in Georgia. They were like $150 a piece. 254 amp battery. They were used for like utility stuff and everything like that. And they're just like a couple years old from what I understood. And I mean, they're all still at like 12.5 volts with, you know, not being charged in a while. So we're going to see if this is going to work. And this hopefully should give me a good amount of juice to not mess my batteries up by bringing them below 50%, of course. And these should definitely give me a lot better juice for the power and everything than those golf cart batteries. So, but I'm going to connect these all up with the 2 gauge wire and then run the 2 gauge wire back up to my breaker. From there, we've got the solar wire coming in as 10 gauge. From there, I'm probably going to run the 8 gauge from here to my breaker point, and then the 4 gauge I'll probably run from here to make sure there's plenty of ample power going up to there. We'll see how that works. And to go with it, I picked up, because looking at these crimpers and everything else to crimp all these big cable deals on, got this like off Amazon for like 20 bucks. And it's a hammer type crimper. And it's got a little spring load in here. And I'll show you how that works here in a second, because I haven't used it yet, but I've seen other YouTubers use it and it looked like it was pretty good. So we'll see. Because like I found a hydraulic crimper that just crimps them on there real good, but that thing was over $50. And I was like, I'm not going to be crimping that many wires to go for $50. So we're going to try this out. Okay. Don't mind the camera on the head. That's just for some close-ups for what I'm doing. Anywho. Alright, so we got these brand new jumper cables. Man, they go good in my truck, I think. But my wife promises me we'll get some new ones. But like I said, for wire by the foot, it seemed like this was a cheaper route to go. So we'll find out. So, the painful part of cutting up a brand new pair.
Ta-da, there you go. Now we have to get you new ones.
Yeah. Okay. Now we need to try to figure out and they just pull right on apart. Now what we want to try to do here is figure out, and I got these little connections over in the welding supply at Harbor Freight, and had these bolts that will fit the batteries. And then I was looking for some washers to maybe make the space up, because these are just a little bit long for the screw in here. And luckily, I was going to pick up regular washers, but my wife, Shawna, found these copper washers over there at Harbor Freight. A little 80 pack of a whole bunch of different little washers. So,
Guys, I'm awesome.
that day she was. Okay, so the idea here is to also try to make all the cables about the same length, so that I'm guessing you have the same like power going through each one, and you know, it doesn't take longer for one to get to the next, you know, that kind of thing. So okay, so our end will go on to about that far and stick out about that far, so we can kind of get a visual that I can go from about the edge there, from where that clamp will go, to about the edge there. So let's see, if we ran negatives maybe under, and we'll run the positives along the top, maybe it'll bounce from there to there, there to there. So let's see, roughly we're gonna need a piece about yay long. So now I have it spaced out, we'll say 8 inches. Do the same thing for the other side. There we go. That'll fit. Probably could have cut some more off and make it go in further. Let's see. Yeah. Alright, so probably to get a better, snugger fit, let's push it to go that far in. Okay, so get it all good there and snug. This has a little spring-loaded deal to kind of hold in your connection there. Hold your end together, and it should pound down most all the way. You know, kind of make a little stopping thud, and that is in there good. Look at there. So do the same to the other side. Alright, so we have our connection, and my suggestion is also just to keep everything nice and neat and it goes up. Make sure you get your pieces facing the same way. You don't want to have it going kind of opposite like this. Keep them the same way. And just for a little extra security, for corrosion and things like that, need to find, I know a lot of people use shrink tubing. I don't have any. I think I'm just going to use a little bit of electrical tape. We'll just wrap us a little bit of electrical tape around this end. Alright, there we go. Well, doesn't that just look pretty? Woohoo! And that should go from there to there. Well, it's probably run them like that. Perfect. One down, a few more to go. I don't think I'll bore you with the rest of making all these, so we'll just blink forward to having them all done. I am going to go ahead and apologize now because obviously I need 2 more of these 2-gauge clamps or lug connections to hook up my battery disconnect, and I did not pick up enough.
Well, let's pretend you did.
But if I did, I'd have a battery turn off right here. So we'll just go straight up to the circuit breaker with it. I was going to put the battery turn off right over here, or battery cutoff switch, to cut the batteries before doing anything, but I do have this breaker switch here, so that still protects things. I just can't turn the battery off to do work on it yet. I'll just do that later. So I apologize for not having enough pieces. So we're going to be connecting all of our little terminals here. I've got a couple little copper washers there to do everything. And you want these are sealed batteries, and when you're bringing your power up and everything, you want to connect from one end of your battery bank of your positive to the other end of your battery bank to your negative, so that everything will kind of like flow through and back out. If you hooked it both up into one battery, these other batteries wouldn't get used as much, and you'd be just draining off of mainly one, and it'd only be bringing in a little bit of this. So if you can kind of follow along, so when you hook up, you want to go from one end of your battery bank to the other end of your battery bank, positive, negative, or vice versa. We're gonna go in here. Okay, there we go. All right. We're going to take the negative line from this side. And get them good and snug. And if you've got a spouse like mine, make sure that they don't over tighten. There we go. Now we'll run our positives. Bring our other positive cable over here. We have our negative to our negative to our negative, because we're running this all still in 12 volt. Positive to positive to positive. This is our lead, and this is our lead going up to the power supply, the inverter, and everything else. Oh, please don't forget to subscribe if you'd like, and like the video, especially if you like seeing me kind of probably mess things up. And please don't forget to share. Like we said, we always love enjoying bringing people everything that we do, and to probably show you, you know, mistakes that we make so that y'all don't make them later. So, all right now. Okay, so we've got all that connected. Now let's start moving on to, we would have the battery disconnect right here, which I would have tied this into, but I'll have to do that later because I didn't get enough pieces, like I said. So we will start bringing this all up to connect to everything else. So we're going to be bringing this negative up straight to the back of our inverter. So we can figure out which way we want this to run. We're going to run it on this side. So we're going to have this negative going to the back of our inverter with the negative that comes off of our charge controller, and then also the negative going up to our little 12 volt fused, kind of like would be your car fuses, you know, in your car for all your 12 volt stuff. So we're gonna link all that together. All right, so we'll bring this up like so. Trying to stay all nice and neat here. Make sure that they're all gonna go nice and flat with everything. Okay, so then this negative runs back up here. And like I said, be careful to where you don't over tighten anything, because you don't want little lugs and stuff to pop out. Here's our power coming in to the circuit breaker. Alright, and I have the circuit breaker on the off position right now too, so I'm not bringing any power up or in here yet. Woo! And make sure that when you're playing with all this, do not touch any of your wires with anything metal. Because see, I still had power coming from here and still hit it. You can hook up power coming down. Alright, this is our circuit coming back from first one, see circuit breaker down to here, back into here to charge up into there. There we go. Okay, so we were negative coming up, going over to where go into the charge controller, back up to the fuse block, our positive coming down, coming over, going over to the circuit breaker, for that to go into there too, and then coming back, power back out to the circuit breaker. Okay, up into place. Going down to our battery. So that's got a good connection. There we go. They are positive.
That looks really good.
Alright, now. Alright, so now charge controller is ready for the solar to go in and come through this little circuit breaker. In case something happens between, it can blow this instead of blowing everything else. And of course this giving you protection down to the batteries. So, cross your fingers like I am going to do. Okay. Well, we're reading good there. Okay, all that's good. This inverter came with, yeah, look at that mess. I'm a messy person. It came with these power wires, and I just didn't, I mean, I've had good reviews I saw on this inverter, but I don't really like those wires it came with. They look like 4 gauge probably. I don't know, they look kind of cheap to me. Of course, I mean, it wasn't a very expensive inverter though either, so. But it did come on with a remote power on. So far, thank y'all for crossing your fingers. Everything looks like it's working out okay. Of course, haven't really hooked anything up to it yet. And there's a little face, because on this one you've got 3 outlets, your power on switch, and the remote, and a USB charging. This is the remote on and off. All right. So let's see if I push the button, because I can plug this up somewhere. I think it's like 15 feet of wire it came with. Big old mess now, of course. But all right, cross your fingers. Let's see if the comes on and doesn't mess nothing up. Well, I heard a beep and I see a green light saying power. The fault button didn't come on, so that's good. Well, it's on. But of course I've got nothing running off of it right now, so the fans aren't going. So all right, let's turn it off for a second. Yep, the remote works. That's a good thing. Guess we could plug something into it small. This is just a regular old small LED bulb. So let's see what this does. Well, comes on. Well, that's pretty nice. Obviously, the inverter's not hot to power up some light, but yay, look, light! Woo! Alright, I've got this little electric planer, Harbor Freight thingy. It is 5.5 amps. So, let's see. 5.5 times 120 is...
Can't do math that fast in my head.
Trying to think how many watts.
660.
660? Okay. Should be definitely underneath the ability for it. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Well, that didn't overheat the inverter at all. So the fans aren't even kicking on yet. So that's pretty neat.
What about the belt sander?
That's nice. Aha! We have definite power for the shop. Alright, now. This is probably some monster beast uses up all kinds. Well, this is 7.5 amps.
900.
Shouldn't have a problem running any of this kind of stuff.
You want me to get the planer and see if we can do them both at the same time?
Yeah, you should be able to. I'm just making sure we're not going to try to go below our battery use.
Here. Yay!
That's definitely not overdoing anything like that. That's good. I like that. What do y'all think? Thumbs up. Yay!
He can explain this to me 500 times. I can't. I'm more creative minded. I'm not very analytical. So how this spider web of stuff makes sense to him, as long as it works, I'm happy. If you have any questions.
Oh yeah, leave them down there.
Or-
Or as a matter of fact, if my setup that you saw looked really bad to set it up this way, definitely let me know if y'all played around with this, or if you're professional installers of it, that'd be even better.
Any improvements that we can make, please let us know. I'm happy that it works. We were able to do the belt sander and the planer at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
So
Well, this is 2,000 watts of continuous, and it has a 4,000 watt peak.
so when you first cut it on.
When you first cut, so that's one thing that you always have to remember is when you first cut something on, when you're looking at getting an inverter, is you want to know that initial startup
Because the surge is higher.
of a power tool is higher than what it runs at. So you have to have something that'll, you know, like if I had something that was 4,000, I'm pretty sure probably 3,900 or something like that, it probably wouldn't start it up either. But that's some pretty big tools. if you have something that starts up over 4,000 watts. Your continuous power is what you want to do is you can add up the things you want to run
At the same time.
simultaneously. If there's just one big item that says uses 1,500 watts, well, you really can't run a lot of other stuff on top of that while you're running that one item.
If you do, it'll do this.
Well, these are actually designed to bolt themselves, kick off.
Okay.
To where you'd have to restart. But if there's a big enough surge or anything like that, that's what your circuit breakers are for, is to pop before it blows your other stuff.
So, yeah.
From my understanding. Like I said, if I'm wrong about anything or could explain it a little better, let me know.
Thank y'all so much for following along. I know there was a lot of information today, and Jeff showed you a lot of stuff that I will probably never understand. So,
And we'll try to give you a little update on some other things that once I get more stuff plugged in and running to show you how it's all performing.
this is going to allow us to actually, Jeff went and he bought the lights that are going to go in the shop so that we can actually start really working here in the shop even after dark, and that's going to be a huge help because we really need this shop set up. Y'all have a great day. We really appreciate you joining us, and we will see you next time.
Have a great, wonderful one. Can't wait to see y'all next time. Later, guys. You would like to know?
Okay.
What would you like to know, my dear?
Excuse my hair. I took my hat off. I'm a mess.
You look perfectly fine. Okay, if you're doing this, do I still need to wear this?
No, you can take that off.
Oh, yay! Ah. Whew. Oh, excuse the mess. Oh, just took my hat off.
Okay.
Okay, hold up. I need to get thinking juice or explanation juice.
We're out.
We're out. How can we be out?
I didn't make any more.
So sad. I want to take a drink, but I'm pretty
It's
sure
cold.
it's cold. Anywho,
The power comes in.
what
from
power?
The sun.
Oh, the solar panels.
Goes
Yes.
to the solar panels.
Solar panels are coming in.
And it goes in here.
Goes into this box right here.
And this box does.
This box controls that power that's coming in and converts it to, because right now there's 19 volts coming in.
Okay. And we're
Of
only
power.
doing 12 volt.
But you can't put 19 volts into your battery because it would be too much.
How many are you putting in your
Charging is like, around 14 volts.
Okay.
So what it's doing is it's taking the amount of power you have, converting it down a little smaller to charge into the battery.
And these are special cables.
Well, they were,
They came with the solar panels.
it was wire that I bought that already had the
The quick connect thing.
MC4 connectors, the little quick connectors that are waterproof. And I just took the wire, cut it in half, which is a good way to do it too. Connected there to connect into here.
Okay.
So yes,
so
it runs
then-
into here.
And then the power from here is going.
It takes the amount coming in and goes, oh, that's too much to charge this up. We're gonna go back out at a lower voltage.
Okay. Stick with me because you're
Okay.
going to lose me if you get too complicated.
Okay.
The power comes in from the solar panels.
Yes.
Goes in here.
Yes.
Okay. It converts it.
Who's on first?
I
What's on second?
don't know who's on third. Today's the pitcher catcher. Today's the
Anywho.
pitcher. Tomorrow's the pitcher. Comes from sun hits the solar panels. Solar panels bring it into here.
Bring it in here.
And this it now goes here.
It's coming
To
out.
this wire.
Yes.
This is a 4 gauge?
This is 8 gauge
8
wire
gauge.
coming out.
Okay, 8 gauge, and it's going into, what's this block again?
It's a circuit breaker.
Circuit breaker. That's not a circuit breaker?
This is a 50 amp. This is a 40
What's this thing?
amp. This is a 40 amp charge controller, and times 1.25 is what you want to put your breaker, the little circuit breaker on.
It's going into here.
It goes into here.
And from here
In
it goes.
case there's a jolt anywhere, this blows so it doesn't go this way.
Okay. This is also
This is also a 4-gauge wire.
4-gauge and it's going to the inverter.
Well, everything's connected right here by the inverter.
So it's the power so far is in this line
It's
is where
coming-
I'm at.
Yes, it's in this
And
line.
it's going into here.
Sort of-ish.
Or out here.
It's
This-
connected to go out.
This is 4-gauge.
This is 4-gauge wire.
And it's going into, what's this? This is circuit breaker.
That is also a circuit breaker. This is a.
This will trip, that will blow.
Yes.
Okay.
This will blow.
Okay. Just stick with me because.
This will trip.
Okay. So it goes in here. This 4-gauge?
Yes.
And it's going into a breaker box or a fuse
A
box.
fuse box. Yes.
And from the fuse box it's going into 2-gauge.
This is
No,
still
that's
4-gauge.
4-gauge.
This is the ground for it.
And it's going back into here.
And it's just all connected at one central. Instead of putting like a bus bar down here,
Uh-huh.
it's just all connected right there.
Okay. We can put a bus bar.
We could put a bus bar if we wanted to and connect all your negative stuff,
And
all your
all the little
positive,
screw looking things.
something similar to that.
Okay.
Yes.
The power's coming out of here.
It comes out that way. Yes.
Okay, what's this for?
That's your negative. This is your
4-gauge?
positive.
4-gauge?
2-gauge.
2-gauge. 2-gauge.
2-gauge. And this
These
is
are
your
going into the batteries.
And this is your positive. This is what's coming from the battery, and also this charging down to the battery.
This is going into the inverter, into the batteries. The batteries are going into the inverter.
It's not going into the inverter. We've made
This is a big bus bar.
The back part of this is a bus bar.
Okay. Okay. What's the rest of this for?
To make 120 volt power.
Okay. Goes into the batteries. Power from the batteries is going where?
Here.
I just said that! I said it's going into here.
Yes.
Okay. And then the power comes out when we plug something in.
Yes.
And that's all I need to know.
I guess so.
When we hook this up, what's it for?
To turn the power off from the batteries to work on stuff.
Okay. And this is 2-gauge wire.
Yes.
And these are sealed.
Batteries.
Sealed. I know they're batteries. Sealed
Sealed.
lead acid.
Probably glass mat.
We don't have to fill them with water.
You don't have to maintain. You don't have to put a maintenance.
But don't let them go below 50.
You don't want. Well, on all your solars like that, you don't. Flooded and these sealed batteries like this, AGM batteries. You don't want to go below 50%.
Okay. I still don't get solar. I just want to plug something up and I want it to work and I want the power to come from the sun. That's
Well, that's just how you do it.